Okay, well, it's about 11 after 7 and nobody's joined me so far. I had a little trouble getting some of the invitations out, so I hope you guys received them okay. Um, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about what's expected in this class, and then in the first week. Um, we're going to be using the FSO platform to turn in your work and to see your assignments and to communicate with me. Um, if you communicate with me through any other way, such as just email, please be sure to include your name and which class you're in. I'm teaching an online class and a on-campus class this week, so please tell me which one you're in when you send any message. As long as you send it through FSO, though, I'll be able to tell who you are, so that won't be a problem. Um, Most assignments and videos in this class are due on Thursdays at midnight Eastern Standard Time, um, or Eastern Daylight Time, whichever happens to be running at that time of year. And but this first week, it's your assignment's due on Saturday because you didn't have the weekend to work on it, and your discussion is due on Sunday. The discussion is generally due the day after the assignment, except for the last week when they're both due on Thursday. Okay, early submissions. If you want to make an early submission, you can do so, and I will look at it and tell you if there's anything you need to change in order to get full marks. Those are due normally on Tuesdays at midnight. This week, because of the late start, that'll be due on Thursday at midnight. You can send those to me by putting them in your GitHub or a Dropbox and send me the link to it via email at pcorn@fullsail.com, or send the email through FSO. And actually, I think you may be able to go ahead and submit multiple submissions via FSO, so you might be able to just send it that way too. You can try that if you like. And if that turns out to be a problem and you can't submit later, you'll have to send it, put it in a GitHub or a Dropbox and email me the link. Now, don't send files directly through email, because if you do, the system at Full Sail will quarantine it, and I won't get it for some time, and maybe not at all. Okay, late penalties are the standard at Full Sail, which is 25% off per day plus a hit to the professionalism grade. If you need an extension, or if you think you're going to need an extension, ask for one at least 24 hours in advance. But if you have an emergency of some kind, you wind up in the hospital or something on Thursday night, then let me know, and we'll see if we can do anything about it, depending on what your idea of an emergency is and what my idea of an emergency is. I don't give extra credit as a rule. Multiple final submissions are not accepted unless I ask for a resubmission. If you've made a submission and you say, oh, I decided to change some things, please grade this one instead. If I haven't asked you to resubmit, I may not take that submission, because I'm not going to grade it, several times. GitHub commits are not required in this class. You can make them or not as you prefer. Okay, be sure to put all your resources in your project folder. A lot of times students put particularly image files, but sometimes other files as well, elsewhere on their computer, and they can see it okay, works fine on their computer, but if it's not in the project folder, when they send me the project folder, of course, I can't see them. And also, your project won't run. It won't build because it's got files that are missing there. So be sure that all your images and everything else are in the project folder. If they're not, you're going to have to move them into the project folder, and then if they were already in your project, you'll have to take them out and add them in again so that they'll be in the right place for Xcode to find. If you do turn something in that won't run because it's missing files, I'm going to send it back to you and tell you to put them in. Okay, let's see. Okay, each of the project states whether you should be using code or storyboard files. If a assignment says something about XIB files, I encourage you to use storyboards instead of XIBs. And let's see, that's about covers it for general information for the first week of AOC. You have Welcome to Apple Objective-C, overview of iOS and Objective-C, intro to Xcode, your first program, which will show you how to use the built-in templates, Objective-C intro, console logging and output, loops and conditionals, and debugging with breakpoints, which will help you find out what's wrong when things are going awry with your programs. Let's see, then you're going to talk about basic memory allocation, NS strings, arrays, container classes, NS arrays and NS mutable arrays, dictionaries, NS dictionary, single view applications with the UI window, UI view hierarchy, view controller overview, UI label, and for your first project, you will be utilizing the information you've used to make a book report that's on any book that you may have read. You're going to be changing the background colors of the view and of the labels and of the text on the labels. And you should use at least 3 colors for the text on the labels, at least 3 colors on the backgrounds of the labels, which are not the same, any of the same colors that you used for the texts. And then another color entirely for the background of the view. So that's at least 7 different colors that you're going to be using there. Okay, you're going to make a UA label and place it at the top of the view. For the title, you're going to have a couple of labels, one that has the text author, colon, and then the actual author label with the name of the author on it. Then a label for the publisher, so it says published, and then one with the actual publisher's name. One that a label that says summary, and then a label that contains a summary of the short summary of the book. And then there'll be another label that, let's see, says list of items, and you're going to choose 5 items from the book. And here's the part that's a little bit tricky. You're going to put 5 items from the book that you choose into an NS array. Now this is not an NS mutable array, it's just a regular NS array. And then you're going to make a loop that loops through that NS array and uses the append string method to append each one of those items from the array one at a time onto an NS mutable string separated by commas, and the last item should be preceded by the word and. So for example, you might have dinosaurs, comma, jeeps, comma, storm, comma, giant turkeys, comma, and eating people. Now you are not to put the commas or the word and in the NS array. That should be added within the loop. Those should be added in the correct spots within the loop. Okay, and then the last set of labels, you're going to have one label that says list of items, and then the label that accompanies, the second label that accompanies that will contain that NS mutable, the value of that NS mutable string that you've created with that list. Make sure that all your code's presented neatly and logically and refactored as much as possible, and always be sure to include a generous number of comments on everything you do. If you don't, there will be points taken off for that. So if you have any questions about this or any trouble, let me know, and I'd be glad to help you. Check out the instructions on the FSO page about Google Hangouts. Also has my office hours that I can be reached via AOL Messenger. Or you can always email me through FSO, and I will be happy to help you. So thank you, and good night.